This past weekend, the NASCAR Cup Series headed out west to Northern California to race at the Sonoma Raceway. The Sonoma Raceway is one of the few road courses the Cup Series or NASCAR in general heads to throughout the year. It was a mediocre race. We saw Truex Jr. getting the job done there, but it was Fox's final Cup race of the year. And as they do every year, while NASCAR will transition from Fox to NBC, they will have an off week. And this weekend is going to be an off week, and there's still going to be racing action going on. You're going to have IndyCar at Road America. I'm not going to talk about that at all. I will say I think Colton Herta is going to win it. But today I am primarily going to focus on the Formula One Canadian Grand Prix because I believe it is going to be very exciting. So let's make this a little bit interesting. We do a pick 5 contest every single week for NASCAR. We don't do nothing for Formula One. But this week we're going to do something. What you got to do is comment your podium. Drivers 1, 2, and 3. And if you get them right in the correct order, you're going to win a Formula One hat of your choice. So if you get them right, who knows? You may win a Formula One hat. So get your picks down below. On to the intro we go.
I'm Chase Briscoe, driver number 14 Ford Mustang for Stewart Haas Racing, and you're watching William Blackwell on YouTube.
Last year, when Formula One headed out to Montreal to race in the Canadian Grand Prix, we saw a very exciting weekend of racing. On Friday, we saw a lot of comers and goers in practice, and Saturday rolls around. We see the practice session being very exciting. And later on in the afternoon, we had a wet qualifying. We saw Verstappen getting the pole, Fernando Alonso coming out of nowhere and starting on the front row with the Alpine. Very shocking. But Sunday rolls around, Verstappen, he's going to have a very straightforward race, a lot of people are thinking, because for one, he's starting on the pole, and outside of him is Fernando Alonso, his biggest threat at the start. And if he knows if he can get by Alonso without any hesitation, Alonso is going to probably have a train forming a mid-pack. And it's going to be a DRS train, which is something a driver does not want to be behind because it's hard to make a pass. Verstappen got away, Alonso struggled, and as the race went on, he's opened up a bigger and bigger gap. But a couple of safety cars happened throughout the race, which allowed Carlos Sainz to come into the picture. And at the end, we saw Sainz, within DRS range, chase down Verstappen. But at the end, it was all said and done. Max Verstappen took home the checker flag and won the 2022 Canadian Grand Prix. But is that going to happen in the year of 2023? Because this upcoming weekend, you're going to have Red Bull clearly being the fastest car in the grid, but Aston Martin, they have taken a big step forward in the year of 2023. And they're bringing a major upgrade this weekend to Montreal, and I believe if this is sort of trying to help out their DRS issues and downforce and drag, I think Aston Martin is going to be competitive. I believe it's going to be close enough to where Verstappen and Red Bull are going to have to be on top of their game when it comes to making a great strategy decision and so on. I just think, though, that their upgrade is going to be big enough, and I think they're going to bring the fight to Red Bull. And Fernando Alonso is going to break a big-time win streak this weekend in Montreal, and he will win the Canadian Grand Prix in the year of 2023. But this is Formula One, and it's pretty clear if Verstappen or Sergio Perez doesn't win this race, they're going to be up there in the leaderboard. And that's why I have Verstappen coming home in second place with the fastest lap. I believe there's going to be a big marginal gap between second place and third place to where Verstappen will say, hey, this race is over with, but I can still go get the fastest lap. So let's go get some sauce in the pits and put this lap down and be in for the day. Because you get a week off, you go to Austria, to Red Bull Ring, then Silverstone, that's when the season starts to heat up. So they're going to want to maximize their points, and if that means at the end, they said, the heck with it, we got second place secured, we're going to go get this fastest lap. And so be it. So Verstappen in second, Sergio Perez in third. Fourth place is going to be Carlos Sainz. He was good here a year ago. And Ferrari is reportedly bringing a significant update here, and they will bring more throughout the year. But Aston Martin just bring a really big one. So that's why Aston Martin, I believe, is going to have a huge leap forward than we're in Barcelona. They struggled in Barcelona. Lance Stroll, out of the two drivers, led the team in Barcelona. I would have thought they'd been the other way around. But he did, so he deserves credit. But 6th and 7th place is not where Aston Martin wants to be. So they made them upgrades. Ferrari, they may gain a couple of tenths on the Mercedes and be competitive with them and the Alpines, but it's going to take time. It's going to get worse before it gets better, and that's what's happening to Mercedes right now. It's gotten to the rock bottom. Now they're working their way forward. I believe by the end of the year, they're going to be in a good position. And saying that, I believe the driver that's going to be leading the pack is going to be Lewis Hamilton. And I believe that's going to be the case this weekend in Montreal, as he will finish in 5th place for the Mercedes. 6th place is going to be Charles Leclerc. He has to turn around the season. Leclerc has been holding back Ferrari, in my opinion, these last 2 years. Last year had a career year, in my opinion, picking up 3 wins out in Bahrain, Australia, Melbourne, if you will, and the Red Bull Ring. Carlos Sainz won Silverstone. So the team overall in 2022 won 4 races. This year, Carlos Sainz has been picking up more points. Team's not yet in race winning contention, so I think Leclerc is obviously they're not going to win a Grand Prix, but he can be up there getting more points for the team and having a bigger gap above Alpine and having a closer battle with Mercedes, but they're not. Leclerc is holding them behind. Finishing behind him in 7th place is going to be George Russell. Canadian Grand Prix has not been nice to him in years past, so I hope I'm wrong here, but I believe Russell will struggle. Finishing in 8th place is going to be Pierre Gasly for the Alpine team. Alpine this year have also taken a step forward like Aston Martin. They did have a slow start to the beginning of the year. Teammates running the wreck and collide out in Melbourne, which costed the team a ton of points. And Pierre Gasly was in line to possibly get a top 5, if not a podium finish, but his teammate wrecked him out cleanly, and that costed them 30-odd points. So what are you doing, Alpine? But I believe now they gotten things under control after the Monaco Grand Prix, when Otmar Szafnauer was under all that pressure from Rossi, the team executive. It was amateur. He was calling it, and Alpine had to make some big changes, and they did, and they picked up a solid podium in Monaco, and things are looking good for them. And I'm really confident by the end of the year, they're going to be contending for podiums on a weekly basis. Mark my word. Finishing behind Pierre Gasly is going to be his teammate Esteban Ocon. 10th place is going to be your Lance Stroll at his home Grand Prix. Some significant things to talk about, though. The drivers are obviously not going to score points. They're going to be Kevin Magnussen, Oscar Piastri, Zhou Guanyu, Valtteri Bottas, Yuki Tsunoda, Alex Albon, Nico Hulkenberg, Nick DeVries, Lando Norris, and Logan Sargent. I believe all those drivers are going to be racing together. It's going to be competitive. It's going to be fun. But, though, they're just not quick enough. These top 5 teams are just having a big advantage over the smaller teams. I think Williams with James Vowell, give them a couple of races, if not a year. I think they'll be competitive against the Haas and the Alfa Romeo, and then maybe AlphaTauri also. But McLaren is in an odd situation. They're above the other bottom teams in the mid pack, but they're also knocking on the doorsteps on Alpine. And I believe if they can get the Alpine, they can get the Mercedes, they can get the Ferrari. But right now, they're in the middle, so there's really not much to do. They're able to do. So if they can get things turned around, they're going to be in a good position because they got Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. Lando Norris, I believe his train is kind of honking the brakes right now because Oscar Piastri is bringing the heat to Lando Norris. But there you go. There's my full-on predictions for the 2023 Canadian Grand Prix. Alonso on the top step of the podium, Verstappen joining him, and so will Sergio Perez. But everybody, though, remember to please like and subscribe and get your top 3 down below in the correct order and get yourself a free Formula One hat of your choice. Everybody have a great day. I'll see you guys tomorrow talking about Michael McDowell and Stewart-Haas Racing.